about you, but was the CEO Teacher Coaching Directory on your 2024 bingo card? Because it was sure on ours. We have been teasing this monumental occasion for a long while now, and it has been a hope and a dream of ours for so long, and the time has finally come. Introducing the CEO Teacher Directory, your one-stop coaching shop for coaches, teachers, and teacher business owners to connect. 90% of coaching clients are word of mouth referrals, and the same goes for quality coaches and mentors. I was tired of thinking, how could teachers be able to help people from all over the world, teachers, students, parents, and districts? So we found a solution to the problem. We have trained and certified the top teacher coaches from all over the world, and our coaching directory is filled with the best teacher coaches to uplevel not only your teacher business, but any and everything you can think of related to the classroom or related to education in general. And the best part is, these are educators and they understand the unique and often overwhelming demand on your daylight hours. Being a new teacher business owner or a classroom teacher that's looking for help, or a school district that needs a specialist in any area of education, we have the one-stop shop for you. The CEO Teacher Coaching Directory is your lesson plan shortcut. You can now hire a teacher business coach no matter what path or journey you may be on. No matter how unique you think your circumstances might be, we have it all here for you. Head on over to caseymorris.com/askacoach and connect with local to you teacher coaches, or search by subject area and niche. It's friendly support with a teacher twist. Find a trusted teacher coach, whether you are part of the CEO Teacher membership or not. Any teacher, any parent, any school district in the world can use this. This is your playground. Again, head on over to caseymorris.com/askacoach to find your coach or mentor today. That's KAYSEMORRIS.com/askacoach. Hey, CEO teachers, welcome back to the show. I am so delighted to bring back a guest that many of you have heard before. Today, we're talking to Allie Elliot, but we're doing something a little bit different. Normally, Allie will come on here and she will tell you exactly how to manage all of your time perfectly. And honestly, she's the best person for the job. But we thought we would bring her back on to talk about something we haven't necessarily dived into great detail on the show. We're going to talk about how to hire the right person for your teacher business. And I know all about hiring the wrong people. And when I found Allie, I can't really explain it other than it was just a godsend to have someone who finally understood how my brain worked. And it became this perfect couple of two people that were able to get everything done. Even though our strengths are significantly different, it has been so good for us because we are such a great team. Allie, I am so pumped for today's show.
Me too. Thanks for having me back on. It's going to be so fun to chat about this.
It is. And I think that this is going to be helpful, not only to people who are looking to hire someone to help them, but also if someone wants to play a role like you do in someone else's business, this could be helpful to them as well.
Totally. I agree. I've learned a lot along the way, lots of highs and lows and everything in between, but it's been an amazing journey. And I can't believe we're coming up on 5 years of me being a part of the business.
Like every time you say something like that, I'm like, I was about to say 2 years, right? Like every time you say something like that, it's hard to believe. It's also hard to believe we've only met each other in real life once.
It totally is. Yeah.
So tell everyone, if they haven't heard you on the show before, a little bit about you. And I love your journey of kind of where you started and where you are now.
Yeah. So I'm Allie Elliot. I live in Denver, Colorado. And that's one of the things that I've been able to do as a member of Team CEO Teacher is we are fully remote. Casey's in Georgia. I'm in Colorado. Tina's in Idaho. So we can all kind of be very flexible. And so I was living in Nebraska and moved out here, and it's just been such a great journey. But I actually was a elementary school teacher. I taught abroad in Tanzania, East Africa for almost 6 years. And it was such an amazing season of my life. I look back on that time with such joy. But as the year before I actually transitioned back to the States, I joined Casey's program when it was very first starting, the first round of Transform Your Resources. Hey to all of you OGs, and really fell in love with Casey. Well, actually, we actually had our invisible string, if you will, goes even beyond that because I submitted something for a giveaway that she was doing on her Instagram like the summer before that. But got into our community. It was so fun to be a part of it. Learned so much about teacher business and grew my own TPT store and business. And then throughout the year, I'm a 2 on the Enneagram. And if you don't know the Enneagram, that just means that I'm a helper. And that is me to my core. And so I would wait to work on my teacher business to actually like help in our Facebook group and answer other people's questions just organically. It never was anything more than that. But a year into that, I was talking with some of the other members of the group, and they're like, you know what, it's so great that you do that. But what if you were like part of Team CEO Teacher and got to be part of that? And so I was like, that's a great idea. So I was transitioning out of the classroom and was kind of in a transitional period and asked Casey if she would hire me to help with community. And that's kind of where things started in the beginning of 2020, before we knew COVID was even a thing. It was so crazy how it all worked out. And then became full-time a couple months later and just decided, you know what, this is it. I'm all in. I was supposed to actually potentially transition to another teaching job, another place in the world. I love teaching abroad, but this has just been such a dream, and able to be so flexible and have a spot where I can really just pour in my creativity, what I'm good at, while also helping teachers in a different way.
And all aboard the CEO teacher train coming by right now. But I don't know that we've ever publicly shared this. I know that we've shared it on a coaching call, maybe we have, and I don't know. But this is I have such a core memory from Allie. I remember her sending that email and saying, "Hey, I help in the group all the time. I'd love to be a part of the team." And it was an immediate yes. Even though at that time I had 2 other employees, and I was like, I don't think we can hire you full time, but like we'll hire you for a few hours a week. And she's like, well, that's fine. I'm thinking about going back and studying abroad. And so that was the plan this whole time. And like you said, it was 2020, and I was in the Jacksonville airport, and both of my full-time employees quit within 5 minutes of each other. And I've done a whole podcast episode on that now. If you haven't listened to it, we'll link it in the show notes. And I don't know that I've ever been that low as far as business wise goes. And I don't think I had ever talked to you on the phone before, had I?
No.
No, I was like, I need your phone number. I need to explain something to you. And so I called her, and only just to tell her, right? Just to tell her, hey, here's what's happened. I don't know what to do next. And I have 2 people that worked full time for me. They quit, and I'm not in a good place. I'm not a great boss, and I don't know what to do. But if you're interested, I could definitely use your help. And at that time, my business was kind of going back and forth between what I wanted to do, whether it was a membership or a course. And I had said some things that I wasn't proud of. And Allie was like, I would love to help you pick up the pieces, but the only promise is that we make promises that we're going to keep. And it was exactly what I needed in that moment. And from that day forward, Allie, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've tried to keep our promises.
We have. Yeah, there's been a lot of ups and downs, and have had to work through all those things and figure out how to make everything work. But overall, we've definitely kept our promises. And it was one of those things that I was really thankful to have this job. It was like all in, was ready to do it. And it was just a great, one of those things that it happened for a reason. And I think that we are better than we were 4 years ago today because of it.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So I get this a lot is people will message me and they're like, okay, but there's not another Allie. They're like, yeah, all that worked out and it was God's plan and all of that. But what about me? How am I supposed to hire someone to help me? And so I want you to talk about maybe how to find the perfect person to match what you need if you're running a business, if you want to hire someone, or vice versa, if you're looking to help someone.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool because I've been on both ends of the spectrum, right? Like I was hired on, but then I've also been an integral part of the hiring process for both of the people who are on our team, one who's full-time, who talked with last week, Tina, and then someone else who we've recently hired on, Becca. And so it's been fun to see the process come to life. And we've worked through some things over the years of, okay, this is what we want for our employees. This is who we feel like isn't the best fit. And so I would say if you are on the hiring side of things and you're like, okay, I can't do it all anymore. Like it's just too much. And I want to find someone who I can be able to get some of my creativity back, and I can hand over more of the tasks and the projects and the things that aren't in my wheelhouse to someone, I would recommend doing a little, just like a inventory of who is already in your circle, who is already communicating with you, and just like whether you have, a course or a membership, that's going to be easy because you probably have a community like Casey does where you can kind of see, okay, these are the people who've been in the program for a while, who carry our culture and who are showing up time and time again, who are in the Facebook group, who are, supporting other people. Those are the people that you're like, okay, yeah, that's who I want to have on my team, right? It's the big word that we always say, and I think is the key to any good hire is people who take initiative. And so whether that is, supporting the community, or if you're not in that place and you have a TPT store, an email list, and an Instagram, look at who is connecting with you, who is commenting on your post, who's even like answering questions on your post with other people, who is connecting with you in the DMs on a regular basis, who is replying to your emails when you send those out. People like that are they're not just ones who are just sitting back and watching your stories and like liking something and moving on. Like they are, one, probably more committed to you because they are putting something back into your world, but two, they are also interested in what you have to say. And so I think that would be a great place to start. And then, yeah, I think that doing it more from a base of a selection process instead of like an application process, because the people who we've had application processes from are people who haven't stayed on our team as long as those who we have personally selected.
That's such good advice too. And that's where I did things wrong. Is that initially I looked at people's qualifications, and that was a big seller for how I hired people. It was less about their commitment or understanding of the brand and more about, oh, you can do these things. Well, that's what I need. And I think that we get like bogged down in like hiring a virtual assistant who promises us to do X, Y, and Z, instead of let me go with my gut and let me hire someone who takes initiative, who is interested in the brand and all of that. My first boss talked about initiative to me, and I used to work at waiting tables, and he would say, you don't just wait tables, you don't just fix drinks, and you don't just deliver food, and you don't just take orders. When you're not doing those things, you should always be doing something, whether it's wiping the counter down, whether it's asking someone if they need help, whether it's sweeping, and he's like, there's never a moment where you should not be doing something. And that's exactly how it is in our world and our business. Allie does not have a set number of hours she has to work every week. We work Monday through Thursday on our slow seasons. And I don't check in with Allie and go, are you awake? Are you working right now? It's not 8 a.m. and I'm messaging her and saying, hey, I need the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's here are all the things that we have for the week. And if they get done, great. If they need to be pushed back to the next week, that's okay too. But what I know is that she's always taking initiative. She's always working behind the scenes. And so why do you think, let's talk about how our brains work for a second. And why do you think that we work so well together as a team?
We've read books on this and things like that. And we've seen other entrepreneurs who have the same kind of relationship with someone else on their team who does these things. But I think, we all as human beings have different strengths and different weaknesses. Our personalities come into play with that a lot. And so when you're hiring, you want to find someone who's not like you, right? And even going back to the qualifications, like I think that someone who, one, is different than you in how they think and how they act and how they do things or how they operate is more helpful than someone who has the best qualifications, because a lot of the qualifications that you need can be taught. Like I am not a graphic designer, but I've stepped into that role in the past year and it's been really fun for me. Like I really enjoy those things. So you never know what someone is going to really find interest and enjoyment in, but you do know you can get a feel for who they are as a person and how they operate just with a conversation with them. So for us, Casey is the true visionary of the CEO teacher, and she really acts in her creative genius and is great at connecting with people and, having that more of the overall looking forward and getting all these ideas and really creating a lot of income generating ideas and growth and just really wanting to pull this business as far as it can be. And in my brain, I'm like, that is all amazing, but how are we going to do it? And how much, we only have how many hours a week. And so we just work really well together because I it's kind of like a hot air balloon, right? If there's too much fire and too much air and not enough weight, the balloon is going to go sky high, and that's really dangerous for the company, right? But also, if there's too much weight holding it down of like, okay, but how are we going to get there? And there's not enough fire and flame and excitement, then it's not going to go anywhere, and you're just going to be stuck where you've always been. So having the balance of, yes, I'm going to be this creative person who's going to keep driving us higher, while I'm also like, okay, but we got to stay steady, we got to stay stable, we can't overextend ourselves to burn out. Like, I think that is like the match made in heaven. And it's not something that you can really figure out on day one. But as Casey has said, and I know that this quote is pretty well known, but like, hire slow and fire fast. I think that's really helpful to find the person who's right for you. It may not be person 1, 2, 3, but once you find that person, it's like, oh, okay, great. I can hand over those things that I never really was that great at or that I need help with. And I'm on the other hand going like, okay, we're going to plan out this. I've got this system in place for, our launch, and this is how I build it all out. Or I have, we're going to create all of this new content. Here's how it's going to happen. This is our calendar. And so we really work off each other well.
Yes. And not to say that Allie is also not a visionary and very creative and all of those things, but when we show up to meetings, there's always an agenda. Allie knows exactly what we're going to talk about, whether it's me and her, whether it's us and the team, whether we're talking to Facebook ads team. If she's there, I'm going to be the one that says, oh, rainbows and butterflies, here's what I've been thinking. And there's no structure. I'm going to be honest. I'm not a structured person. I'm very creative spirited. But what Allie brings to my life is a calmness, a stillness, and a structure. And I think this is important in a lot of relationships too, not just the dynamic of hiring someone, but in someone that you care about, or even in your family. Like, my daddy is steady. My daddy is the one that he loves to dream big, but he is going to give me the reality. And he's going to say that not everything is rainbows and butterflies all the time. And so what I had to learn as a boss, and I'm not great at it, I still sometimes probably get frustrated, but I'm better than I used to be, is that when Allie tries to pull the hot air balloon, I love that analogy, back down. I used to be like, no, you're not pulling the hot air balloon down. We're going as high as we can go. And instead I started to realize that that's the perfect recipe for people to burn out, and that money is not everything. The entrepreneurial journey, we get excited about things that generate income, but how you're going to get there is everything. And over the years, I think that you have perfected the how. You talked a little bit about organizing the thoughts and the scattered brainness of things that I bring to the table. Um, how do you conceptualize that? Are there words for that? Because I honestly, it blows my mind every single time. And it's gotten to where I'm so used to it that sometimes I forget, and we get in the thick of it, of a launch season, and I have a million things going on, and I take life day by day for the most part. Like, I don't know what's going on tomorrow until tomorrow. And so I show up to work and I've got 20 things that I need to get done. And I go in there thinking that I'm supposed to do them, or I forgot about this. And Allie has 9 times out of 10 either already done it, it's already on the calendar, the links are already exactly where they need to be. And it allows me to go, oh, I can be creative because I'm not digging through all of the weeds. But how do you do it? Because I don't know. I don't know how you do it.
It's one of those things. I think it's just like a strengths thing. Like, I really, like, I'm either all the way organized and have everything planned out to a T, or I am not at all. Like, you should see my closet right now. It's not that way. But I think that my brain just works really well I know that these are the things that need to get done for us to have this completed or get this ready to go. And so I think, one, it's just experience, right? We've been together for almost 5 years now. And just like any relationship, you learn how the other person works. And so I was like, I've learned, okay, Casey needs this to be able to get the things done that we need to get done. And it's almost like, as the other person on the other side of things, just like in our meetings, having an agenda, I would rather meet with you for 20 minutes to say like, okay, let's make all these decisions, and then I can go and run and get them out, versus waiting in a message thread of like, okay, well, we need this, and we forget about it because it's 2 days later. And so I think my brain just works in the way of like, okay, if we can get all the decisions made then I can run with it and take it. And it actually really excites me. I really enjoy getting into our project management system. We use Asana, ASANA. If you go to caseymorris.com/Asana, you can try it out for free for yourself. But I dig down deep in there and I've learned how to use it best for our business. And so we'll have like, okay, this is one set of tasks that we need for a launch. Let's say it's for our webinar, right? And so every task has a certain theme to it, but then you can go in and make subtasks under that to be like, okay, well, Tina, our copywriter, needs to write the copy for the landing page before then I go in and make the landing page, and someone else does the graphics for it. And so I think it makes sense in my brain. I just can really organize things really well. And so I think that's what helps me a lot. And I really work well with a schedule and a calendar. For me, I think one of the big things also with hiring and being on a team is just like over communication. I would much rather have someone ask me something 10 times versus doing something not the way that we want it to be done. And so I think that I've just learned like however much that I can over communicate even in Asana to you and to the team, it just makes things a lot easier than going forward because one, there's less questions, two, there's less errors, and we continue to move forward and do things better than we've done before.
So in previous hires that I've had, I think I have been given a gift of reading people's energy. I know when someone is upset. I know when someone is not on board, if they are not feeling it, if the vibe is off. It's evident to me. And I don't know that, I mean, maybe once or twice, right? I think I've gotten on a call with you and I'm like, oh, Allie's pissed. Like, Allie's like, Casey, get it together. I feel like once or twice in 5 years, but I know that I am difficult to work with, especially the last year, right? I'm a new single mom. I've got 4 kids. I'm all over the place. And so there was a time where I wasn't that person. And now I've gone into it and I hopefully am getting back to the original person that I used to be. But how do you deal with me? How do you deal with someone that hired you that doesn't have their ducks in a row, that you feel like you're running the ship every single day and they're just out here just hoping it all works out? Because I feel like you probably feel like that a lot.
There's definitely some of those times when it happens where I'm like, okay, we're still waiting on this, or this hasn't been done, or whatever. And it does, wear on me and, wear on us as a team sometimes. But I think something that I've learned mainly in the past 6 or 8 months, as I've been seeing a counselor and just working through my own issues that I've, and patterns, is having really good boundaries. Of that's the one great thing about helping run someone else's business is it's not my business. Like, yes, I have ownership as an employee, but I'm not the one at the end of the day who is like making all those big decisions. So for me, it's like, okay, I'm going to do whatever I can do in my control to get us to the point that I can get to. And then I'm going to let Casey decide when she's ready to take it further. And so for me, it's more of like, because last year, I'll be honest, in 2023, I did a lot of like carrying a lot of the in a wrong way. Like it was not my place to do it, but it's just what I did because that's again who I am. I carried the responsibility of the business and how our members were feeling and how this was going and how this was going. And honestly, it was not great for me physically. Like I got sick more last year than I ever had in my life. And so I think for you, if you are someone who is looking to work with someone on their business, or even as a business owner, like knowing where your place is and not overstepping that as far as like on either side of the coin, but especially if you are even as a teacher right now, like I know it's hard because you have all these things stacked upon you, but whatever you can do to realize that it's not your place to carry something past where it's supposed to go. Or like if you are working for a business, you are not your responsibility is not the entire business. It is your responsibility. And then you let whoever is running the business take hold of whatever else needs to be done.
And in relationships, I think that we punish people if we aren't, for example, there were so many times last year where you could have easily punished me for putting you into those positions. This is why I think you've taught me more about unconditional love than most people that I've ever been around. Is that there were so many, it was every day. I was going through hell. It was every day. I probably put Allie in a position. And I know, especially now, that she was overworked, underpaid. She was all those things. She did everything. And so I think back to all of that and how I would have been in that situation if it were me. And I think that I probably would have punished the person. I would have been like, well, I'm just not going to work next week, or like, oh, I'll just not do anything and I will not, I'll make their life harder. And you do that subconsciously, I think, a lot of times in life, but you don't do that. You don't do that. And I need to say thank you, of course, but also, how do you talked a little bit about it. You said, counseling and all of that, but and I'm going to speak for you for just a second, and this could be wrong, but the difference between you this year and you last year was like, if that was a hard deadline or whatever, like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what you said. This is how we're going to get it done. And we half-assed it in a lot of different areas because of that. And now you're like, that's great. You want to do that. But like realistically, that's not going to happen. We're not going to be able to do that because we're not gonna be able to get it done between now and then.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely just like realizing, and again, as you work with people more, you realize, okay, this is what the capacity that we do have with the team that we have, and this is what we can't get done, or, especially with Casey and your personal life, like I knew that, okay, one, you needed time to, work through all of that. And so you weren't as aptly available to help with some of these things. And so we, as a team, had to work through it. And I knew that if we had this many people working on it, this wouldn't be able to get done until XYZ. So, yeah, I think it's just a lot of figuring out where you as a person, how you can take the person and the connection away from, okay, this is a job that I love to do, and I love helping teachers, and I love being a part of this and the growth of this business, but also it is my job. It is not my entire life. And I think that is something, again, as a teacher, like there are seasons where teaching was my entire life. And you know what? I was really burnt out. I was really overwhelmed. But then I realized, teaching isn't my entire life. It is part of my life. It's a big part of my life. But also, I want to live my life outside of work just as much as I want to do a good job with what I do.
So, what other strategies do you have for people that are looking to hire someone for their teacher business? Do you have anything that we haven't covered that you think is important that people know?
I just think that, like what I said before, hire slow and fire fast. One of the things that Casey did with me, and I think with all of our employees, is we have the 90-day like onboarding process where it's almost like this, like, pre-confirmed time where you're like, okay, we're going to try it for 90 days. And in 90 days, you will see who is going to be a long-term person and who is not. Or sometimes it's, what, we just need you right now. Like it's not maybe the best fit, the cream of the crop, but for this season, we can't go through the hiring process again right now. So we're going to use you, but also knowing that like it may not be the long game, but I think for you as a entrepreneur, as a boss who is handing some of your baby over to, people that you hire, I think it's important for you first not to hire just because there's so much and you're overwhelmed. I want you to first be able to know exactly, Casey said this before, you should, for the most part, have a really good understanding of what you're handing over to the person who you're hiring, because then you can be a part of that and you can know, okay, this is to the standard that I want it to be, or this is not, and let's work on it. And so that first 90 days, you're really in it with this person and finding out like, okay, how do you work? What can you do? What does life look like when things get hard, when things don't go right, when you make mistakes? And so you learn a lot about the person at that point. And so what I would say is after that 90-day period, if you can't do what you can do with their help, then I would say look for the next person. And like I said, it may take a couple people and it may feel frustrating to you because you have to kind of put the immense growth of your business kind of on a back burner. But just like what I was saying, like when you find the right person, you're going to be able to grow and fly much further than you could if you had someone on your team who was holding you back or wasn't to their fullest potential.
Yes, I love the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And I know for a fact that I could never do this without our amazing team. And we've gotten a lot better about the firing fast part. We kind of would drag things out a little bit. And I would drag things out a lot. I would know in my gut that someone wasn't a good fit, and then I would wait. And so now I've gotten really good, even because Allie is so much an integral part of this, is that I can immediately say to Allie, like, I'm feeling like this. And she's going to say, let's give it 60 days, or I see this in this person. Let's give them some time. Or she's going to say, I agree with you. And so I trust her so much so that I'm like, okay. And another part of your job that we didn't really talk about is that Allie is also one of our first certified coaches. How long have you been coaching, Allie?
Since 2020, the summer of 2020, we first got going with that.
That's crazy. So she's been helping teachers in our community, specifically one-on-one, that want individual coaching. And so she was a huge part of helping us develop our certification program. And you can hire Allie if any of the things that she talked about today, or just the way that her brain works, intrigues you and you think it could help you in your teacher business or in business in general. You can hire Allie by going to caseymorris.com/ask-a-coach. I know that Tina was on last week, our copywriter. It's been so good to bring Allie on this week. And then also to be able to show you guys the amazing teacher business owners and teachers in the classroom that are going to be on the show in the next coming months. We've got a really good lineup going on.
We do. I'm really excited about it. Yeah, it's been wonderful to coach our teachers. And I think that if you're someone who's like, man, this sounds really interesting to me, of helping another teacher in their business, but you don't want to leave the classroom, where you're like, man, I really love teaching. I think coaching could be a great step in the right direction, because you can coach and then also do, help another teacher. One thing I was going to mention as well, with if you are looking to hire or be hired, I would say the other thing is, which you probably already know this, but it's something that I think is important, is you don't want that conflict of interest of being in the same niche. So you, as someone who is looking to be hired, you're like, oh, cool, I'm going to go and try to connect with my favorite, fourth grade math teacher, and I teach fourth grade math, and I want to be on her team. Well, that's kind of, it blurs the lines a little bit, because you have the same ideal customer, you have the same niche. And so they're probably going to be less likely to hire you because you're in the same zone. Whereas you find someone who's like amazing and in a totally different, like is a librarian or is in a completely different niche. That's who I would go for. And that's who I would hire as an entrepreneur too, is hire someone who's not directly in your line of contact. Like with me, I have my own teacher business, but it's completely different than the CEO teacher. So that's something that I would say as well as like a little bonus tip. But the great thing about coaching is being able to support teachers in a different way and use your coaching and teaching strengths outside of the classroom.
Well, Allie, I could talk to you all day, every day. I do for the most part through Slack. And I'm just so grateful that you shared with us some tips and tricks on how to make your hire the right hire when it comes to your teacher business, or if you're interested in getting to be a part of someone else's. So friends, be sure to check us right back here every Wednesday for the CEO Teacher. And we just kickstarted Teacher TV again. That's on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook, where you can also see us chatting with amazing teacher business owners. We hope to see you there. And as always, remember, your best is yet to come. We'll see you soon.